Live from the City of Angels, Sunday morning, midnight movie money. Box office receipts are in for the weekend, and it was a bad weekend for Pixar as we look here at the total for Elio domestically, $21 million. And you can see THR saying it limps. This is pretty much a bomb, right? I mean, it's the lowest Pixar opening ever. Okay. And then when you throw in the international cash, you're looking at $35 million total. Let me bring up the Pixar openings from Box Office Mojo, and you can see the largest ever for them was Incredibles 2 back in 2018 at 182 plus. You got Inside Out 2 from last year at 154 plus, and you have to go all the way down below Toy Story in 1995. And remember, 1995 cash is way more than 2025 cash adjusted for inflation and all that. So you're looking at way under Elemental, which was $29.6 million. So Pixar has lost their juice, as it were. This is bad, man. I don't think the film's terrible. You know, you look at, we'll start with it. It's number 3 this weekend, and we'll work around here because it's the big story. We start with the lead story, and then we can move around to the rest of the films here. But you're just looking at a film that I don't think is as bad as Elemental. I think it's more entertaining slightly. I don't think these are great Pixar films. And you look at the overall level of word of mouth and people that see this, they're pleased with it. It got an A cinema score, which is strong. 4.5 out of 5 on post-track. That's the other way that they measure these with the audiences. And that's, you know, listen, that works, but the money doesn't. 21 million, yet 14 million overseas. Says here, now Disney's trying to spin this. It's directly from the email, so we'll just read what they had to say. The positive reviews and audience scores set Elio up nicely for a strong theatrical run through the summer. I don't think that's going to happen. They hope, here's the second part of this. You ready? Hopefully a similar run to Elemental, which had a 5.2 multiple because it opened at 29 and ended up legging out 154. This is not going to do that, okay? That's what they hope. They should really highlight the word hopefully. Let me do that for you here. Let me see. There it is there. I'm going to zoom in. Can we make it bigger? Hopefully. Internationally, 14 million. Jeez almighty. Really bad. And then you look at releasing in China, Japan, and Spain later. I'm sure it'll do poorly there as well. So, you know, what's happening with Pixar? As we've seen, diminishing returns over the years, and the quality's not as great as it was when it initially kicked off back in 1995. You lose John Lasseter, and for the reasons that he was dismissed, at the end of the day, he was the guiding force, right? That guy was the creative juice and the glue that held together Pixar. And you remove a creative mind like that for whatever the reason may be, and you're going to suffer, okay? So you look at it as quality control. You know, we talk about this all the time with studios that lack it. John Lasseter makes sure that whatever you're releasing is the best possible version of the film that you're trying to make. I think the best, really great Pixar film was Soul. Even with the cat stuff, I think it recovers at the end. It's just got a spiritual beauty to it. It's way better than this, much better than Elemental. I mean, this is one of the weaker Pixar films. I would still have Elemental ranked lower. It's just not clever. You know, it could have been a really fun, you know, Lord and Miller animated kind of crazy film, and it's not, and it is very much of a forgettable film, and Elo's slightly better than that. So comments, go ahead and hit me with those. If you're watching this on the replay, leave them on YouTube. The channel is Midnight Movie Talk if you're watching on X this morning. Let's get to 28 years later because it is your number 2 film this weekend. $30 million debut, straight to the Sony email. You can see 60 million on the global, so that's 30-30. And that is your typical split even between international and domestic. And here's the thing. So some people are saying I'm being a little too harsh on the box office, saying this is a disappointment. Okay, let's go. Because I think a really solid site is Box Office Pro. Let's look and see what they had 28 years later, at this weekend. You guys want to see? Do you see the number there? Anyone see it? 35 to 45. What's the number? 30. We're under, and they're always conservative on that low number. So this is under 30. This is what I'm talking about. So you can go somewhere else, and you can listen to Grace Randolph spin her movie math. But when you look at, and this is exactly where this film should be, that trailer is one of the most watched trailers. It has won awards. It is one of the best of all time. So you should have everyone cramming the multiplex this weekend, and instead you get 30 million. And I'm not saying it's a bomb. Let's go over where this stands as you look at in comparison to other films. Back to the 30 million, okay? They're going to go ahead and break this thing down from an international standpoint. Here's some of the things that is done better than recently. Better than Sinners, but remember, Sinners did much more weak numbers overseas than it did domestic. So it's plus 76 on Sinners, okay? That's not really that surprising, again, because Sinners is an aberration where it did so much domestic versus international cash. On par with Nosferatu and bigger than A Quiet Place 2, Evil Dead Rise, and Smile 2. All in like-for-like markets at current exchange rates. I always like when they throw that stuff in. It's fun. Where's the financial person that can explain? No, I get it. I understand. UK was number one. I don't even you surprised. 6.4 million. Danny Boyle, his home country, as it were. The entire UK. And then you have Mexico at 2.7, Middle East 1.8 in the region, Australia 1.7. It says here they've got rave reviews. I mean, that's not true. Listen, this is a film, and we're going to talk about it again tonight, guys. Let's make this very clear. Very crystal clear on this film. There is no gray area on 28 years later. This is a film that will destroy whatever credibility you hope to have in the space if you say this is a great film. If you say this is a masterpiece, and I've had some people come in, you got to understand, guys, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You cannot throw the word masterpiece and 28 years later together. You can, but you also need to check yourself into a hospital because you're not mentally sane, because this is a really bad film. Okay, there's no way to spin it. This is Mickey 17 odious. These are the two worst films of the year, and I wanted this film to succeed. I am the biggest Danny Boyle fan in the universe until this film. So don't come in here telling me this is a good film. Don't do it. You can, but don't do it here. And also don't do it to anybody that you expect to ever listen to you about anything ever again. If you like the film, that's fine. I mean, you're wrong. It's laughably wrong, but go for it. But just don't bring that shit around here because I don't want to deal with it because it just tells me that you don't know what you're doing. And I don't want those people here. I just don't. Sorry. This is why this channel is what it is. I'm not for everybody. Don't care. It's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build educated, smart, learned, perceptive film viewers, and this is garbage. This film's not good, man. No. How to Train Your Dragon is number one. We've worked our way back to number one. Let's go to the Universal box office update on this Sunday morning. Thanks for being here on Midnight Movie Money. Those of you who just left because I just said you don't know what you're doing, saying this is a good film. Fine, so be it. I don't care. It's my channel. I'll do what I want. How to Train Your Dragon. 53.6 million in weekend number 2 across international markets. Stateside, it dropped 56%, only 37 million. So the international is now at 197.7, domestic at 160.5. That's a pretty steep drop, right? 56%. You want to see this hold better, especially with Elio pretty much bombing. And then you have a film in 28 years later that really doesn't do much as far as head-to-head. Slightly, I mean, I think How to Train Your Dragon skews older than the typical, like an Elio. Elio's like a little kid movie. It really is. It doesn't even play on multiple levels very well. So this film should be holding it better than minus 56. It has all of the IMAX. So what's happening? I think this is another example here this weekend of you should not have a film in IMAX more than one weekend unless it is doing boffo business or it's directed by Christopher Nolan. the major prestige director who works in IMAX. If it's not those two things, then you've got to dump it. And How to Train Your Dragon, remember, only opened at about 85 million last weekend. That's nowhere near a Deadpool Wolverine, which was essentially double that. So Deadpool Wolverine earns IMAX for a second week, okay? Sinners did because there was no competition at the time. So what else are you going to put in there? But if there's a big film coming in, and I would argue 28 years later is the film for IMAX, because IMAX tends to trend to an older audience and a more cinephilic audience, right? They're willing to pay the upcharge to get that. If you have A-list, you don't have to worry about it. It's free, right? You just pick IMAX or a regular or whatever you want. That's the beauty of AMC A-list at $28 now, 16 movies a month, 4 a week. Guys, it's a no-brainer, complete no-brainer, okay? But when you look at this, it is hurting IMAX because the screens are not full, and you really want to put films in IMAX that are going to sell 75% or more of the seats, certainly in that second weekend. It didn't happen. So we'll see what happens over the long run. I mean, I told you guys, How to Train Your Dragon's fine. It's essentially a shot-for-shot live-action remake of the animated, so I think that's how audiences are treating it. They're not that excited for it. I think this summer we're seeing a lot of films that are going to disappoint. And we saw it this weekend with 28 Years Later, film that should be higher than it is, and Elio, which just bombed. The multiplex is in trouble. Let me explain. We're going to talk about this tonight. I'm going to make it really short, and then we'll get to Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible. Here's what's happening. Post-COVID, you had a lot of people that were excited to get back into movie theaters, right? Once we were told we could rejoin society and go to movies and not kill everybody, then you saw that bump, and you saw films actually take a higher percentage of their gross because of the fact it was post-COVID. If you bring some of those films in now versus like 2021, 22, when you didn't have that, oh my God, I'm excited to be back in the movie theater, the novelty and all that. Well, guess what? It's now you're starting to see that audiences are going to start being more selective, okay? I think we definitely saw that with Barbenheimer, where you had that post-COVID, holy shit, we're back in a movie theater, this is amazing. But you're just going to start to see some of these films not do as well. Jurassic World, the latest one, is it Jurassic Park or Jurassic World? I don't even remember if they retitled Jurassic Park Rebirth or Jurassic World Rebirth. Probably World, because it's a worldly. But when you look at that film, I think that film might be not tracking as high as Universal wants, because look, there's a very good chance that is your mystery movie tomorrow. AMC Screen and Scene or Regal or Cinemark, they give you that movie for like $7, $8 now, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I am 90% certain, because they've all but told you that that's what it is. That's unheard of. That film doesn't even open this week. It opens in 2 weeks. So if they're showing Jurassic World, let's just say it's World. I don't even know. And I'm so over those films. Then they know that, just what I'm telling you, that we're starting to see some diminishing returns for these films. And that is where the trouble part comes in, because people are saying, well, what happened? Why is this? Because movie theaters are going to struggle a bit. I'm just telling you, unless the product is super compelling, it's not the same as it was in 2019 or prior. It isn't. Lilo and Stitch, 9.7 million, minus 38%. This is the top 10. I'll get into all 10 in 1 second. Mission Impossible, 6.6 million. I think it's up to 540 million on the worldwide right now, which is good, right? I mean, but it's not going to get anywhere near the billion plus it needs to break even. And the film's not great. So we've had disappointing film in Mission Impossible 8, much more disappointing in 28 Years Later, a film that's borderline, I would argue, unwatchable. And unless you have no discernment. Some of you seem not have that. That's a you problem, not a me problem. Materialists is minus 49, 5.8%. 5.8 million. And you look at that film, I think it's A24 is going to take this result. A24 is going to take Materialist at a 5.8 in the second weekend, and the total on that as I go to the top 10 is 23.9 million. I mean, for a small film like that trends all to older audiences, we'll take that number. Top 10, let's do it, guys, and then we'll get ready to roll out of here on this Sunday. Back tonight, talking about Superman tracking, talking about IndieWire's top 100 films of the 2020s. Good Lord, that list is a mess. They have Megalopolis on there. I don't care. Listen, they have it at 100. I don't care if Megalopolis isn't in the top 1,000 movies of the 2020s. I don't care if we've had 1,000 movies. It's the last movie. It's worse than Mickey 17 and 28 Years Later. It's that is unwatchable. Megalopolis doesn't deserve a spot in the top 1,000. Okay? So, but IndieWire, again, is full of chin-stroking knobs, right? They don't even know what they're so bad. David Elrick's occasionally on target, but the rest of them and that all the critics that they actually polled for that, it's all of the circle jerk film Twitter losers, and they just did that. Sorry guys, I'm gonna be brutal here this morning like I am always. These critics suck. It's not a joke. This isn't funny. Ha. They are terrible. They're literally embarrassments to the field of journalism. I mean, because as a journalist, you should be fair and objective. Some of these critics they're none of those things. They have agendas. They're politically motivated to hammer some of this stuff. It's garbage, man. And it goes for the same for the anti-wokers. Same thing. You can't be like that. I mean, Chris Gore's the worst. Honest to God, Gore's the worst critic that I think in the entire space. I think you talk about a sham. You talk about an embarrassment to the field of, quote, film criticism. That dude. Fucking drunk every time he walks into a movie. Dude, you are just know that, Gore. You are. How to Train. Sorry, guys. It's my channel. I'll do what I want. I'll do box office and I'll hammer some people on the side. It's the reality of the situation. I have uplifted very few MMT-approved critics. There's like a handful, okay? And I'm talking like 5. It's not 50. It's like 5. And that's true. It's fair. You guys know it. I get comments all the time. The critics are terrible. There's one I trust because they know with me I'm authentic. And I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to play any kind of politics. We're going to be fair about this. Even breaking this stuff down, the box office. How to Train Your Dragon, 160.5 on the Cume domestic. Again, your number one film of the weekend, minus 56. That is not stellar on the hold. 28 years later, 30 million. 8,700 per location, which is, listen, again, a good opening is 20,000 plus, 30,000 plus. We're at 8,700. So remember, that helps you know just how big these films are when you look at that location average. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon was essentially the same at 8,400, very close to 28 years later in the second weekend. Granted, it's a family film. I get it. And it's, 28 years later is funny because people call it a horror film. Yes, it's a horror film, but you know what I mean? It's one of those that's like, it's not as like a Sinners. Sinners is, I don't even know if it's a horror film. It's close. This is more, but it's not pure. Like, pure horror is Terrifier. Pure horror is, I would even say, Final Destination, even though it's God bad. Right, whatever you're talking about. But I feel like 28 years later, zombie is horror, yes, but it's just not quite. It's like 85, 90% horror and 10% drama, right? Or in this case, 10%. No, let me say 90% laughable, 10% decent. That's why we gave it a 10%. Elio, number 3, lowest Pixar opening ever, 21 million. Lilo and Stitch, number 4. At 9.7 million, minus 38. Mission Impossible, minus 38. 65, 6.5. Materialist is number 6. 7, Ballerina, which is now only at $51 million. They're going to lose a lot of money for Lionsgate. Karate Kid's Legends is now at a shade under $50 million. A film that if you released that a year or two ago, it's at 75 plus million, if not maybe closer to 100, because Karate Kid and Cobra Kai was the biggest thing going, and now you just missed it. They missed the release date on that. Final Destination is now up to 134, over 200, and I believe 50 million on the worldwide. And then Kubera, is your number, debuting in number 10 spot with 3,400 per location. All right, guys, see if there's I'm sorry, listen, it's a 10%, it deserves it. Exactly. Thank you, Hattie. That's what we're talking. Oh my God, right? Hold on, there's all kinds of good comments here before I get out of here. Anyone who rated Megalopolis fresh is yes. And, I would argue 28 years later, I would. And remember, we had our Pulitzer Prize winning critic Justin Chang say that you need to see Megalopolis twice. Do you think that I'd get away with that? But once you have a Pulitzer Prize, you can say the stupidest shit in the world, apparently. I mean, can you imagine? You got to see what? You have to, excuse me, what did you say? You have if I'm part of the Pulitzer Prize organization, I'm yanking that. The second I hear that cat says that you need to see it twice, it's over. It's over. But I'm glad some of you agree. The neckbeards will love the soccer hooligans doing stunts and flips. They probably will. There's a lot of neckbeards. Just as I get ready to leave here, I'm just going to leave it like this. There's not only neckbeards. The AMC 16 is, if you guys want to be entertained sometime, go to the AMC 16 and sit in the lobby and just watch the people that come through. Woo, baby. Okay. You wonder why I hammer film Twitter so much. You see, and you go, where did these people come from? Okay. Where do these people? I just can't. Guys, a pleasure as always. We'll be back tonight on the big show, but we are always out there fearless and authentic, and we will never hold back. Thanks for being here on Midnight Movie Money. We're back with the big Sunday Evening Spectacular tonight. Have a great Sunday. I'm off to play volleyball. See you tonight. Peace.